Welcome to In the Blue. I'm your host, Dr. Cory Frogley. So grateful to have you here today. I've got my co-host, Joseph Stith, with us. And today we're tackling a topic that I think is pretty wide appeal, which is generating referrals. And you guys all know that if we're going to have a bustling, thriving practice, we've got to continue just that constant feed of new patients. And whether you're a well-established practice or you're just getting started, it just becomes that much more important to drive those referrals. And we're really fortunate today because our special guest today is Travis Rodgers. He's been in the dental industry for 10 years, but actually comes to us from a Silicon Valley background. That's where he grew up. He's worked for some ginormous companies out there, and then also with some very small startups that he's helped just explode. And before 10 years ago, starting his own companies, and really has become well known for a product that's called RecordLink, which allows practices and specialists to send documents back and forth securely, but more importantly, drive referrals. And he also has a product that we'll get into a little bit later. But more importantly, he's written a guide to driving referrals. And these are his most prized things that he's learned over the years, leveraging both your team and technology to really help get things rocking and rolling in the practice. So Travis, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. Appreciate it, and thanks for the intro there. Excited to talk about referrals and in the process of actually writing a book on this topic right now. So we'll share some best practices, we'll share some case studies. I don't know if you know who John Jantz is, but John Jantz runs a company called Duct Tape Marketing, wrote a book called The Referral Engine. Now we're tailoring the book for the dental industry. And so I've worked with hundreds of different dental practices, thousands and thousands of patients on increasing word-of-mouth referrals from patients, as well as streamlining the communication and referral process from doctor to doctor, which we also know is very important, especially for the specialists. So Thanks for having me on the show, guys. Appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Travis, when we think of someone who understands marketing, you're on the short list. And to be
thanks, Joseph. Yeah, I've run for the last 5 years. I've run a marketing agency called Dr. DDS. I've worked with a lot of different dental practices, launched over 150 different products into the dental industry, built 16 different products. So learned a lot of lessons. I love helping people, achieve their dreams. Entrepreneurial dentists, chiropractors, people that have ideas of products they want to launch. And I've actually built a dental and a product incubator for those that want to. And pretty soon you'll be hearing about a show that I'm launching. And, I go to all the different shows, the trade shows, and do a lot of interviewing of people with innovative new products. And we're launching a TV show, which I just signed a deal this week for to bring the innovations that are going on in the industry to the world. And it's kind of a hybrid of Shark Tank meets the Food Network, where the guy goes from location to location interviewing people, and we're gonna have some fun with it. So I'm excited about that. So you'll see it. You'll see the TV show. Haven't finalized the name, but it's going to be the Dental Innovation Showcase, and we're going to rank the top innovations each year.
You just have no shortage of ideas, Travis. I don't know how you get anything done. You're just always doing something new. That's crazy.
I grew up in Silicon Valley. I had no choice. It's in my blood. It's in the water.
It's in the water.
I started my first company when I was 5 years old, selling gumballs to my friends. So I really just love. I meet so many dentists out there, so many chiropractors, medical professionals, and the like that just they have an idea, but they don't know how to go about launching that idea.
Yeah.
And that's my passion is helping people with those ideas. And referrals is really the top of the list, because as we know with referrals, when you get a referred patient, it's a pre-sold patient. You literally, case acceptance goes up, treatment acceptance goes up, the value of that patient goes up. So I work with a lot of the consultants, industry experts on, how to increase referrals, because we know referrals are the best customers.
So if we're talking about referrals, I don't think I'm alone as a consultant that seem to often spend or find ourselves being sucked into spending so much of our time making the office like referable, right? Because, how would you speak to that?
Well, that's a great that's a great segue, because we've all walked into those offices. One of the largest, most referred to oral surgeons around me here, who I've been working with, is they have over 700 referring offices that they work with, and they are the most referred to oral surgeon I have ever seen, literally, in the world. And it's a complete experience. So, making sure that your office is set to be referred to. I mean, the staff is friendly. You walk in this office, and literally you just feel welcome. It feels like home. They welcome you. It's a beautiful office. The paintings are nice. The office is well painted, well decorated. We've all walked into those dental offices, or any medical offices for that matter, where there's broken tiles, the paint is chipped, and you think to yourself, now, do I really want to tell my friend to come to this office? So it's really a cultural shift. Right?
Yeah, even on the phone, it's like you just want to be sure that the way they answer and the way they project themselves makes that referral that's calling in glad that they called, right? So that there's no missteps there either. But invariably, it seemed like those that were focusing on wanting to attract new patients would often forget to tell the patients that they're looking for or accepting new patients. Because it's easy, I think, to send the message that we're a closed practice. We get that all the time with MDs. MDs have a closed practice in Utah, especially if you're OBGYN, in like less than 2 years. But in dentistry, we never really have closed practices, do we? But patients forget that. How do you address that?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the big issues is, the failure to engage and ask for referrals. So, it's that's to me my biggest the thing that I work on with the folks that I work with. And really what we're talking about today is not dental specific. This is entrepreneur specific. This is business specific. So the tools, the things that I like to do, and I like to see people do, is just engage with referrals, engage in asking for them. I mean, if you are truly, and that's why I like the funny sort of joke of wearing this shirt is nobody loves their dentist, right? Or that nobody loves their chiropractor, because you're in pain. You're going in there to get treated, right? Yeah. So, but you can always tell those offices when you walk in, and whether they feel like they are a referred to office. It really starts with the top, and I hate to say it, but it starts with the dentist, the owner of the business, the chiropractor, whoever we're working with. And it's a cultural shift. And more than anything, if somebody is happy with where they work, they want to engage with referrals. They want to ask for more referrals internally. So a lot of it is a staffing component. But what I also like to see is having some sort of automated tool to ask for them, because it's always uncomfortable to ask for referrals. I don't care how happy you are. I don't care how much you love the company you work for, or the product you sell, or the dentist or the chiropractor you work with. It's still somewhat uncomfortable. As much as it is human nature to ask for referrals, the biggest failure that we see is just a failure to engage and a failure to ask for referrals.
Cory, you've seen that in your practice. I mean, it's probably easy for you to continually engage on a referral level to keep them thinking about sending referrals. But I'll bet you've had other chiropractors where they think that this is something you can just delegate to the team, and they don't engage like they should.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And they feel like, well, if I asked one patient for referral today, I've done my job. And so I found that it's most effective if it's in your systems. And so when you're training the team members, it's just part of the system. On this day, when we do a patient review, or how are you doing, and they're doing really well, they're talking about how well they're doing, that's the time to engage and ask for that referral. And then for the team, we can go into incentives and all sorts of things from here, but I think it comes down to, they just know that on a weekly cadence, we're reviewing the referrals that were generated from the prior week. And so if you keep having the same team member raise their hand that keeps generating all the referrals, the other team members don't look so good. Yeah. So yeah, it's identifying the timing to ask for those referrals and making it part of the systems that is just a habit.
Travis, good point on that. He mentioned systems. That probably begins with like the referral program, right?
Well, the referral program, I mean, you nailed it there, Cory, on the, the system. Anything that's tracked, anything that's managed, as you know, you run a business around this, is then that's what, then it gets done, right? So, yeah, I mean, obviously we could talk about, there's lots of great referral systems out there, lots of great tracking mechanisms out there. So I think the important thing is having a system to track it, and just having that continuous conversation with your team about referrals and the fact that you want more referrals and things like that. I mean, because one of the other issues, and one of the things that I find, is that not enough resources internally at these organizations are actually dedicated to getting referrals.
Yeah.
So one of the most common mistakes that I see is that it's not just the guilt or the devotion of asking for referrals; it's also dedicating someone that really kind of runs it internally. So what I've developed is the Referral Academy. So it's basically like a master's program for referral coordinators, or those that are delegated to accept referrals. So
really?
I've brought in the industry experts out there, Joanne Majors, Paul Homilies of the world, to come in and work in our academy to really develop referral coordinators, because there's not, we have the Office Manager Association, we have the Scheduling Coordinator Association, we have every group and association. But when you ask people, well, number one, 70% plus people say they chose their provider based on a word-of-mouth referral.
Wow.
So if you don't have somebody internally, and now 88% say that they trust online referrals, online word-of-mouth, as much as they do word-of-mouth advertising. So we need to increase our online presence, online social referrals and whatnot, and do it through various ways. But more than anything, dedicating a resource is the point here, is dedicating an internal resource that is trained, and they know, not only are they trained, but they're also tracked on the performance of those referrals.
So they own it,
for example,
but they're not the only ones doing it. They own it, but they're not the only ones.
Everybody.
It's got to be everyone. Interesting.
Yeah. A lot of misconceptions out there. I'd say the three biggest mistakes people make internally, or the team makes, is that only longtime patients refer, but that's not true either. The best time to capture a referral, just like a review, is with a new patient. I mean, they have a fresh perspective. They love their dentist or their chiropractor. They love the company that they're a brand new customer, right? So typically it's a great experience.
That's
I would say
the biggest mistake I have seen is that they often want to wait until that patient's established, and then they've waited too long because they've missed that excitement factor, that honeymoon phase of their enthusiasm about having found someone they really like. We wait too long. We should be asking sooner. But
exactly.
The term gamification is becoming more and more popular. Clearly, and Cory mentioned that making a competition, can do a lot to keep the focus on asking for referrals. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, one of our largest clients that I've been working with is they have 100,000 patients, 5 offices, and we've actually built a rewards platform on top of it. So basically, this rewards platform is tied to referrals. And it's both internal and external. So think about internal rewards would be, providing your team with rewards for certain behaviors. The external would be patients' rewards. It's a fine line, because we got some legal things that we need and ethical things that we need to keep in mind there. But basically, for us, it's more about sharing the care versus actually a hard referral. But the gamification comes when you start putting a board up of, who's internally as well as patient-wise. You can't really publicize the patient side, but you can definitely publicize the internal referral gamification of it. We do it through, a couponing and we call it a rewards platform. It's really, a gamification product, so to speak. But gamification is used. It's sort of one of those abused terms that's out there. So it's really just a tracking mechanism, and would probably be a better way of saying it rather than gamification.
From using that, Travis, what have you found that's been the most engaging thing for the team members? Like, you can train them, you can put it in the systems, you can say this is when to ask for referrals, we can report on it, but what gets them to step into that uncomfortable spot and ask for a referral? What's been the most motivating to get them to engage?
Yeah, I mean, not to talk about what we've already covered, but on top of what we've already talked about, actually, with a lot of the offices that we've worked with, the internal team, what's motivated them is the rewards. So, we actually have real rewards. So we have not just a $10 gift card, but it's actually like almost like a president's club, from pulling it from the corporate America side, yeah. Where when you do the gamification, these are real rewards. So we've actually tied to a rewards platform that actually gives, discounts on golf clubs, trips, things like that. Cars. I've seen orthodontics give away cars for the top referring folks internally.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a big one.
That would have over a decade.
It's got to be something big and audacious and exciting that gets the team excited about it. And I guess a car would definitely get the team excited.
So let's pause on that for a second, because that's not a bad idea. And obviously, there's certain practices that have those type of profit margins, and there's certain practices that don't. I mean, sure. we service a wide range that a car lease is probably making them cringe in their shorts. But
yeah.
However,
shouldn't even put that out there.
No, that's not a bad thing. But you could do a 90-day. Go to Costco and look for the bright, shiny thing up front. It could be a flat screen TV. It could be a new laptop. It could be a phone. I mean, there's plenty of things out there at the 500 and lower range that you can purchase every 90 days. That's only 4 times a year. That's under $2,000 if you're spending about $500. And in a 90-day time period, have that competition running for the team. And at the end of the 90 days, give that away to a team member. And that's exciting. That's incentivizing, because they know every 90 days there's going to be a new thing to go after. And sometimes it's, depending what it is, it may motivate one team member over another. But the goal there is obviously what you just talked about, Travis, which I think is pretty.
Because when you consider the cost of a new patient acquisition, that kind of puts it in perspective. It's not out of the question, but it does make it fun, and it does make it engaging.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, obviously, I think more than anything, what I like to encourage is not the monetary incentives, but more the incentive of recognition. To me, the giving away, talking about, rewards, talking about all these things, that stuff actually makes me uncomfortable. What I like to see is the team actually being recognized internally. So sometimes the best thing is not to give away a car, not to give away a $500 gift card, any of that stuff. It's actually just recognizing that person. So in your team meeting, saying, recognizing and talking about the fact that, thanks for joining, Lacey and Megan. Appreciate it. Feel free to chime in as well. So, so again, it's not about the monetary stuff to me. It's about the, the recognition of patients as well as internal folks as well. But the key of it is, tracking the system and whatnot. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit more about just kind of misconceptions, because we talked about it a little bit, but I think, one of the 2 things we mentioned were, only long-term patients refer. Sometimes it's only, the next part of that is, a lot of times the internal folks, the team members only think that they should be asking for referrals after receiving some sort of fantastic treatment. That time when a patient says, "Oh wow, this looks great," or a full mouth restoration. To me, it should be asked for, and not to abuse it, not to over ask for referrals, but having mechanisms that track it. You talked about systems, Cory. That's a great way of managing that, so you're not bombarding people with it. But how about just a smile, and the fact that you had a good hygiene treatment or good treatment. So don't just wait for those fantastic, exhilarating, large treatment times to ask for referrals. Constantly be asking for referrals without doing it and making people uncomfortable. So there's a lot of tools and suggestions that we have. We can dive into a little deeper later on some of those things. But and then the other thing is the misconception that patients will only refer once. So what we've seen is, and we track this through through what's called the clout score for a patient. So we have a mechanism that tracks the most socially influential patients that you have. And what you'll find is that if you spend 90% of your time with the top 10% of your referring patients, or the types of patients that do refer, that's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. So not just spreading it across everybody. I mean, not everybody is the type of person, even though it is human nature to want to refer. Not all patients are just going to do it once. So continue to ask, especially if you find certain ones that are, that have a real high clout score, have a real high social presence. Those people are typically the ones that we like to do. And what we like to do is take it where you can actually embed widgets inside of their social media where they can actually share the referral very easily through their social media.
Well, you mentioned working with those top 10%. What have you, in all of this information you've gathered, have you been able to pinpoint what type of that person is that causes them to refer more than others, or what have you noticed?
Yeah, definitely. So, a lot of it is tied to, so you're a numbers guy, I'm a numbers guy. I can tell you based on their social presence, their it's called a clout score, where you actually can track how many social media friends they have across Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, see how many times they're posting, see those folks that are the most socially active. Those are typically the ones that are the ones that are sharing the referrals, because as we know, most referrals today are done online. They're not necessarily done in, true word of mouth, so, and you also get a much larger bang for the referral buck, so to speak, when they're sharing it across social media and whatnot. And so that's why we just want to make it super easy, super slick to be able to have patients, basically share the love, so to speak, with their friends, right?
Travis, what about newsletters? What about newsletters? Do you think?
Yeah, newsletters are a great one.
Newsletters? Do they read them? Are they outdated?
Funny thing about newsletters, and it's sort of coming back around, where some of the old is becoming the new, because some of the new is just being abused. And newsletters is one of them. Newsletters, so I mean, the most important thing with referrals is, and just like with anything, it's consistency, and so the newsletter provides consistency. It also provides an opportunity for the office to share testimonials. There's some great platforms out there for collecting video testimonials, for that type of thing. But even if it's a written testimonials and some HIPAA compliance things that can be embedded in there. But bottom line is, the part that I like the most about the newsletter is really just the ability for it to provide that consistency. So it's not just an advertising tool, which was what most people view it as. But it's also a consistency tool, and it's easy to outsource that. I mean, there's so many different publishers out there that can produce a newsletter. Most people already have some sort of patient reminder service that they can send the emails through. And then, what you find is there's certain types of patients, certain types of people that are open to receiving the newsletter, and certain people that aren't. And those people will just kind of slowly filter out or opt out of receiving the newsletter for you. That's the beauty of having it tracked in a system itself, is that you're not going to just send the newsletter to people that don't want to receive the newsletter. So keeping it consistent, though. The key is the consistency
and keeping it fresh. But it's that constant mix of team involvement and utilizing technology to maximize your results.
Exactly.
And there's no one that knows technology better than you do when it comes to driving referrals.
Well,
That's
thanks.
great.
Yeah, that's what I've dedicated my life to. So, you know, we talked about, you know, systems. We talked about, you know, I think the contest, and, you know, that's one thing that you know, is also a bit of a, you know, up for debate. Giving gifts is also up for debate. So there's different levels of comfort, but I think just kind of welcoming new patients with a gift, and just something basic where it has some, you know, some of the logo stuff, and getting a little bit more creative than just a toothbrush, but having something that is, something that they hang on to, like a t-shirt, or a, you know, something that they can use more often than just a toothbrush, something that's more publicly available. That's why I like the t-shirt idea, because, you know, it may be a little bit more expensive than giving away a toothbrush, but what we like to see is something that actually is something that's out there in the public, rather than just a toothbrush. It's really just a private thing that just reminds you that guy is your dentist. What we want to do is encourage behavior. We want to encourage people to talk about, oh, you love your dentist, or you like your dentist, or who's your, you know, so, or the ability to
turn them into a walking, talking billboard with an opportunity for a conversation as people engage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the key is knowing your patients, right? You know, not everybody's going to do it. Not everybody does want to. Most people won't be comfortable walking around with a shirt on. Let's be honest. That's sort of the fun of the shirt. It's a bit of a cheeky joke, but bottom line is, you know, understanding your patients, their influence levels, and also other experts that may be in your area. So maybe it's not just patients. I mean, we found some of the best referral sources and to be people that are maybe in the same community, same regional area, same shopping complex, things like that.
Yeah, other professionals, etc.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up our thoughts here, you know, we always end with this, Travis. You've probably already covered it. So, but what would be your number one actionable tip? Something that our listeners can bring back to the clinic on Monday and immediately implement with their team. If you could either reiterate that point, or if it's something in addition to.
Well, let me end on 3 points, and I'll make these each quick. So I think, first of all, nobody talks about a boring practice. Nobody talks about a boring business. So be different. Do something bigger, different. You know, that's the fun of the car, right? Consistency creates consistency creates trust, first of all, with your patients, with your internal team. So make it consistent. And then more than anything is, you know, all of this is done systematically. Marketing is a system, and referrals are the best word of mouth the best word of mouth marketing, the best form of marketing, period. So put it into some sort of a system. Doesn't matter what the system is, just something that's tracked, something that's managed, and make sure you involve, you know, really the 3 pillars, right? Your current referring colleagues that you work with, your patients, and your team. That's it.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Great tips.
Great.
As we're sitting here going through this show, I just realized that as a professional, I've had other dentists or specialists come and ask for referrals from me as a professional, right? Developing a professional network. But as I'm sitting here thinking of my patient experience in healthcare clinics, I can honestly say I don't think I've ever been approached for a referral as a patient, which is probably speaks loudly to what how much all of us can improve on this very aspect. So
it's not the nature of medical practitioners. You don't go to the hospital, and your neurosurgeon doesn't go in after surgery and ask you for 5 referrals for your friends that may also want a neurosurgeon.
Who else needs a neurosurgery?
Dentistry, chiropractic, some of the other disciplines that are more consumer oriented, definitely, need to be at.
Even my optometrist, my dental experiences, nothing.
Yeah,
it's just kind of
crazy.
Anyway,
well, I mean, I think the key is 70% of people choose their practitioner based on a referral. So,
no, that's great points. Great show today, Travis. So, Travis Rodgers, thank you for being with us. Travis, how can our audience find you if they want to learn more about your systems?
So, obviously, TravisRodgers.com is one location, Dr. DDS, DRDDS. I'd say, for what we're talking about here, if you're a dental practitioner in particular, RecordLink would be the place to go, recordlink.com. If you're a patient, if you want to get more word of mouth referrals, it's lovedentist.com. We also have lovemy.com, which will also be opening up to a much larger audience outside of dentistry as well.
Multiple ways to find you. That's it. There's a lesson in that right there, isn't there?
TravisRodgers.com is probably the easiest. Or just give me a call.
That's a great lesson right there. Travis, fantastic show today. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for our listeners, and always excited. We are here every Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, or 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for joining us today, and please, again, refer all your friends to our show. We provide free, great content to help your practice grow and thrive. We are all about tools of scalability. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, guys.